Hello, you're listening to Nick RP Green. No internet pseudonyms here. What you see is what you get. Recording on the 2nd of May 2012, and today I'm going to be talking to you about Bastion. Bastion, then, a game released by Warner Brothers Interactive Entertainment, developed by Supergiant Games. It's an action indie RPG that was released in 2011, and I'm talking specifically about it today because it's on Steam's Midweek Madness. The game is 60% off. It was £11.49, it's now down to £4.59. You can also buy the soundtrack edition, which is £6.79, which includes the game and the soundtrack, or you can just buy the soundtrack on its own if you've got the game and you haven't got the soundtrack and you now want the soundtrack, or you just want the soundtrack, which would be quite strange if you just wanted the soundtrack and not the game. Onto the game itself. It looks really, really nice for a start. Let's talk about the artwork. It's really simple. Well, I say it's really simple. The background is reasonably simple. You can see by the images that I'm showing you when I get rid of the menu. When I get rid of the menu anytime now. The background is quite simple, one piece of artwork, but then it's what happens in the foreground and what actually happens, which is really nice. The ground is created before you as you run along. It's a really interesting way of doing it because you never know what's going to come next because the world is materializing before you. There's certain areas, as you saw with the hammer there, that were already pre-rendered and ready for you. But as most of the world appears before you, you don't quite know what's going to happen next. It's a really nice thing to see because it leaves the game in a bit of mystery and a bit of suspense. You don't know what's going to come. The artistry itself looks really nice. This sort of cartoony but artistic feel to the game. The characters are quite bright and lively. It's very easy to see what's going on. It's very easy to see what characters are enemies and what characters are friendlies. Not that there are that many friendlies in the game. The music is really nice as well. It goes well with the game. The pace of it picks up a lot when there's fights and when there's things going on, and it's quite dreamy and hypnotic a bit when things are calmed down quite a lot. Gameplay is pretty simple, action RPG, so it's a bit of a hack and slash type of thing. Though you do get a weapon as well that fires bullets. You can get a bow, you can get a machete, you can get an axe, you can get a hammer. It's lots of different little weapons. They're upgradable through the RPG elements, finding pieces and then spending points that you can see in the top right hand corner to upgrade those weapons. And you can go for crit damage, you can go for base damage, you can get special abilities that make your weapons do extra damage over a period of time, or you can do damage that slows and stuff like that. The basic sort of RPG things are there. You can have two weapons out at once. You control one with the left click, one with the right click. It seems the game sort of sets you up to use a melee with your left click and a range with your right click, but you can customize your weapons however you like to whichever setup you prefer. You have a special ability as well that costs one of your black bottles. I don't have any black bottles at the moment. You may see those before the video's out, but they're a pretty simple way of not allowing you to use your abilities all the time, but not having some sort of meter that has to recharge. You just pick up another bottle and then you can use them again. You can carry 3 bottles at once, you can carry 3 health bottles at once, and you fill up health bottles by going to the fountains. The gameplay is reasonably simple. The hack and slash element works as you'd expect. The kid, who's the character that you play as, is reasonably slow, but moving around and fighting is very rewarding. It feels very smooth and nice. I have a couple of issues with the range weaponry, with that sometimes the aiming is a bit more difficult, particularly on smaller targets in some of the trial levels where you're required to shoot certain targets that are quite small. And there's some times where the aiming just doesn't quite like where you're trying to hit, and it wants you to hit in a specific place, and it feels like it could have been a little less demanding with the sensitivity of the aiming. But apart from that, the rest of the sort of hack and slash bit works really well. It's really easy to pick off enemies and kill them and move around. You have a nice dodge ability that makes getting around the level quite easy and moving around and not taking so much damage. The shield, I haven't really used the shield much. It doesn't seem to work for me in the way that I play, but the shield's quite handy there, particularly when you've got a lot of ranged things attacking you, you can bounce enemy ranged attacks off the shield and hopefully hit other enemies with it. So that works quite nicely. The thing that's really given this game the edge, though, is the storytelling. You may have heard about the narrator in Bastion, and it works so beautifully well. It's a really interesting way of telling a story. The narrator is a really smooth talking old guy who he just has this voice that's really sort of soothing and friendly and supple, like an old granddad who wants to tell you the greatest story ever told. But the way he does it, rather than just tell a story, you can see with the subtitles that are coming up below that he sets the story up, he tells you what's going to happen, he tells you what you've just done. You pick up an item and he'll tell a little story about that item. You'll kill an enemy, a specific enemy, and he'll tell you about that, you killing that enemy. There's certain points where he tells you things that direct you where to go. It's like once you finish an objective, he may say, if the kid picked up the core and now all he needed to do was find a way out and get back to the floating platform thing that allows him to fly. And it's just this way of telling the story. Not only is it a really nice way, and it's a really different way that is pleasing, and the storytelling element is really good, it's also really informative in a way that isn't game breaking. It doesn't break the atmosphere. You know, in the way that sort of Metal Gear Solid, you got a codec call from someone who said, push the action button to climb the ladder. No, in this, if you had to climb a ladder, the narrator would say the kid had to get up to the top and the ladder was the only way up. So that tells you that you have to go and climb the ladder. And it just doesn't break the game at all. It works so well. And because it happens all the time, it's not strange or alien. Every item you pick up, he has something to say. If it was only every so often, then it wouldn't seem so nice. But the narrator pops up all the time, and it's just really nice. Look, when he falls to his death, you know, a quick little quip about it. The death, just whilst the death's there, it's really nice that when you fall off the edge, you come straight back down and you carry on. You lose a bit of health and you carry on. It's not like Mirror's Edge where you'd fall off and you'd then have to wait for another loading screen for 5 minutes. This game is lovely. It's not particularly hard. I died a couple of times in my playthrough. I haven't finished it yet. I've only played a couple of hours. I wanted to get this video out reasonably quickly because there's a bit of a time limit with the midweek madness. But it's really nice. The gameplay is reasonably simple. You know, it's what you'd expect. But the artistry, the music, and the narrator is what makes this game come alive. What makes this game special. It's what makes this game unique. I cannot think of another game that sort of does storytelling like this. Except maybe the Stanley Parable, which was a Half-Life 2 mod. It was a different kind of way, but a similar way of telling a story using a narrator and doing something. But that was just a mod for a game that not a lot happened. This is a fully fleshed indie game with a unique and interesting way of telling the story. And if anything else, that's worth the £4.59 that you're going to be paying on this sale. I don't know yet from playing the whole game whether it was worth the £11.50 that it was originally. I don't know yet whether or not it is fully worth the £4.59, but from what I've played so far, and I've only played, as I said, an hour and a half, 2 hours of it, it's really, really interesting and really good, and just such a nice way, a unique way of telling a story that you don't often see. So seriously, pick it up. It's only £4.60. It's not a lot for something that's interesting, different, and unique. You won't find another game like this. As I say, a couple of issues with the ranged for me, but apart from that, I have no problems with this game, and it's so nice. So yeah, pick it up, give it a shot, and you'll love it. You'll fall in love with it, because the narrator is just the kind of guy you want to take to the bar and have a drink and just let him tell you all the stories in the world. Well, I think that's it from me before I have some sort of orgasm over a voice. I'm not sure if that's possible, but it may happen. I'm going to get off before I get told off for saying something that's potentially rude and I probably shouldn't be saying. I will see you next time. Thank you for listening to me about Bastion.